I'm curious, how many people, what do you guys know about the Space Elevator story? You mostly know it, mostly, but how much do y'all know about the Space Elevator story in general and where, yeah, please, and where we're at now? Can you guys give me a kind of background, what you know, what you think you know? A little bit, okay? Not much, okay.
Arthur C. Clarke was the guy who originally proposed the concept, if I remember correctly. Current tech-wise, we don't have a structural material strong enough to support a geosynchronous to ground ribbon that could be climbed with a counterweight.
Right.
Although people think about it with carbon nanotubes as well as stuff. But.
What's your background? What do you know? No, go ahead, please.
Oh, I've just been to a couple of group panels when I know that you were starting it up, was that 4 or 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And then hadn't seen from you in a while. I'm assuming you had the same thing that everyone else had happened to them over the last couple of years, so.
Yeah, and then some, yeah. John, do you want to kind of kick off some of this stuff, or do you want me to take it?
Well, let me first, for the people that don't know me, my name is John Rogers. I am a spaceship archaeologist and looking for a few good spaceship captains in the future, which I'm still looking. Basically, I wrote the spaceship handbook. I am an ex-aerospace engineer who was old enough to work on the Apollo. But basically, I wasn't an engineer on the system. I was the final QA engineer who approved the Atlanta Apollo high gain antenna that sent you back all those lovely pictures. And I've worked on the space shuttle, and I've also been a satellite engineer for several satellites in orbit. And I think they'll probably be there after I'm gone. So if you want to do anything permanent, put a satellite in orbit. That's it, folks. It's there forever. And that's basically my background. And I basically tried to educate myself and get up to speed on the idea of space elevators because, as far as I can remember, I've been a SWAT enthusiast. So that's basically, I'll be looking at the engineering aspect of it and pros and cons.
Cool. Great. My name is Michael Lane. I was part of the original NASA Institute for Advanced Concepts research team that looked at this back in 2000 to 2003. We'll talk a little bit about the history since then, but bless you. The super condensed version is that we started out under NASA's umbrella. That was really good for quite a while. And then in 2003, when the Space Shuttle Columbia crashed, was exactly the same time that our funding was running out. And we were trying to find a home under NASA's umbrella, but for good and appropriate reasons, they cut something near $1 billion worth of research projects at that time so that they could get their birds flying again. So we were basically stuck with the choice of, do we put the stuff that we've learned on a shelf and ignore it, which just happens to a lot of really amazing ideas, or do we decide to go private and continue exploring it? And that was my choice, to continue building on it. This wasn't common knowledge then, it's now become common knowledge, but I was the main backer of the project. My wealth came from real estate. In 2007, the real estate markets crashed. I got crushed, and basically the project ended in 24 hours. But while things were good, they were very, very good. We built, we were one of the first 500 labs in the country, maybe in the world, to build carbon nanotubes. To be perfectly candid, we weren't very good at that. That was not a strength of ours, so we cut that research. That goes back to what you said a minute ago. Carbon nanotubes are the theorized ideal material for building the Earth elevator. We weren't that good at it. we did that in 2003, so it's coming up on 10 years since we did that work. And it was appropriate that we quit that. I mean, we sunk something near $300,000 into that one particular research aspect, and we weren't even close. I mean, not even remotely close. And it's actually, in a way, like, it was a really frustrating experience for us at the time, but it's been 10 years and still nobody's very close. There was a recent breakthrough at Rice University that's pretty interesting. So we weren't very good at carbon nanotubes, but we were very good at robotics and the idea of figuring out how to climb. And so, Stanley, you've seen a bunch of our videos. We don't have screens or anything like that today, so I didn't bring out that stuff. But we've built 19 robots. We're working on our 20th one right now. We've climbed as high as a mile. We took a great big balloon tethered to the ground with robots climbing back and forth. We've gone as high as a mile. For one of our experiments, that was only about 6 hours, and for a different experiment, much shorter altitude, but we were in the air for 60 days, so that was kind of pretty cool. We liked that. We were pretty good at that stuff. And then everything kind of fell apart. Everything just kind of crumbled when the real estate markets collapsed. So,
Kind of proving the concept that no bucks, no buck Rogers.
yeah, for sure. Who said that first? I've heard that before, but I don't remember where it comes from.
The right stuff.
The right stuff, right? Okay, the movie
That's
The
what
Right Stuff.
it popularized it.
Right.
Aerospace engineers have known that since the 50s when they didn't have the bucks.
Yeah.
But effectively, that's when it was popularized.
Yeah. If you don't, I mean,
What makes this bird go up? Funding makes this bird go up. And quite honestly, that's important.
it is. It really is. When we got shut down, it was literally overnight. I mean, it was a bad couple days. And the irony is that we're here now because we're focused on this lunar elevator concept. And I actually announced, I think it was at RustyCon 6 years ago, that the moon was going to be our next destination. And it was kind of a big deal. And then RustyCon happened, and then we were out of business. I mean, it was April. We were out of business in April. So, and so it's basically been stagnant. Basically, the concept of the elevator in general has been pretty stagnant for the last several years. There have been some NASA competitions, and they've been pretty successful. And there's actually some competitions happening in Europe and Asia, in Japan especially. They have gone pretty well, and that's continued pushing the idea. And even though LiftPort was out of business, they've continued having the space elevator conferences every year, and that's basically been the glue that's held everything together. But that's basically things were just quiet for a while. And then last year we had a breakthrough, and everything changed. We had a big Kickstarter campaign, and that's when we asked for $8,000 from a Kickstarter campaign. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But we got $110,000, which is not enough to build an elevator on the moon, but it is enough to act as a catalyst and maybe reprime the pumps a little to give us a little bit. So you had a question?
Yeah. Do you think the sort of lack of whatever progress or interest or something is due to just the material science aspect of it? It's like building with the actual cables sort of like a big stop. It seems like, there was a lot of talk about the nanotubes, and 10 years ago it seemed like really big, and now it's like we still don't have them.
Nanotubes are the new fusion.
Yeah.
The cold fusion.
Yeah. Let's chat about materials in general, and I'll focus back in on nanotubes because that's a really important question. So let's back up. So everybody's clear on the space elevator concept. The Earth elevator is you have a ball and a string, spin it over your head, string in the middle stays straight. The elevator on Earth is basically the same thing. The Earth spins, you have a counterweight deep out in space with a long, strong string, and then that string stays straight, and you basically build a robot climbing back and forth. I think it's a simplified version of getting back and forth into space. I'm a big fan of rockets, but
No, you aren't.
I am. I'm a big fan of rockets.
They're going to obsolete all my rockets.
No, absolutely not. Rockets are going to the value of rockets are going to explode. That's the wrong phrase. Expand.
Words we
Sorry.
don't use.
The value of rockets are going to expand because there's going to be more opportunities to use them. I'm a big fan of rockets. So the string that you need for the Earth elevator is extraordinarily difficult to build. The idea of the space elevator has been around for over